So on drawing number 1, back to this one here, this is our extreme back position, where the arm, the shoulder is in its most back position. Here's an instance where now we're going to start to overlap our action. This does not mean that your arm, this part of your arm here, is going to be in its backmost position. It could be partly on its way back over here, because it's swinging. So as the shoulder reaches its backmost position, the elbow is still swinging backwards, and it's probably going to be somewhere in around here. Right? So the path of action on the elbow is back like this. Once the shoulder swings up and over this way, it's going to pull the arm up and over like this, so the timing on this will be delayed. We're overlapping the action by a certain number of drawings. So where this is the extreme position back here, it doesn't mean that your elbow's in this extreme back position. It's actually delayed by a couple of drawings. So we're going to figure that the path of action is going to be something up and over like this. Your elbow is down here. Be up and over like this, and then coming down following this path of action here. We cause a similar path of action, a looping figure 8 through here. It's going to be a lot bigger up and over like this. So I think we can probably plan that overall we're going to have something of a path of action that's going to look a little bit like that. Okay? Kind of a wild figure 8 like that. Right? So therefore my bicep part of my line is going to be somewhere in and around here. I'm just going to put that part of the arm in that position there. So now we're just going to straight ahead animate through this whole thing using our 16 drawings. We just basically follow the action of what the shoulder is doing. So the shoulder is coming up and over like this. I'm going to swing my arm back. Continue to swing it back here. But it's being pulled up, so I've got to maintain my overall length. So what I'm looking towards here is getting the angle of the arm as it swings back. So I'm going to take it off the pegs, rotate it onto the shoulder, and find the overall length of my arm in order to place my elbow in the proper position there. So it's coming up and over like that. This is where the shoulder reaches its high point. So this is where I want my elbow to swing back in this position here. But I have to figure, like I have to look at the distance that I've got from here to here on my previous 2 drawings, and be careful that I'm not making it bigger here, because I don't necessarily want that to go faster at this point. I want my fast point to be in this section right here as it's swinging back this way, and it's going to begin to slow up as it comes over here. So I've got to maintain that idea that it's going to slow down as it comes over here. So what I could do is I could say, well, you know what, I'd really like my elbow to be in this position here, double check my length. So you can see how I've made it slightly longer there. So I'm just going to shorten this part here up, but then go back with my number 2 drawing and fix the in-between here, because you can see that it's going slower in here and it's going faster over here. The distance is greater. So I want to find my appropriate halfway position in here by shifting it over. Can I borrow your eraser just for a second? Thank you. All right. So once again, I'm just sort of winging it at this point here to see whether or not my positions are correct. I don't know for certain. This is more of a trial and error type thing for me. But I'm still following the basic rules of I have to slow in and slow out. So I put these back in order again, 1, then 2, then 3, so I can do my roll flip as I'm straight aheading this. So that's better there in that position. So now I know that when I get to this position here, you can see how my shoulder is going to start to dip down. I want to continue my arm going back in this position here, but I want this distance from here to here to be slightly smaller now, because I'm going to start to slow into my action. But as this part of my shoulder goes down from here to here, see what I have to do? I have to start to crisscross my shoulder point here on my bicep, because this part here is coming down. So I've got to crisscross my lines over top of each other there. It's going to go down like this, so this point here has to be lower while the other part goes up. Okay, so there's my overlapping action. This is going down, this is going up. So it's a form of the S curve, but we're not dealing with the S curve yet, because we haven't gotten to that point where we're having the extra lines in there. So it's not, we just have to make sure that we're following logically what would be the action. So So now I have to shift it, make sure that my length is the same, put my elbow on there. Then in number 5, this is where I'm starting down even more. But I want to continue my elbow going up, but here's where I'm going to slow my elbow down. So the distance from here to here is this much. From here to here, I want to slow this down so it's less to that point there, but this part of my elbow here, or shoulder here is going down. So here's where my full overlap takes place. See the shoulder going down? Shoulder goes down, elbow goes up. Then in number 6, I'm going down. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to just move my elbow just slightly up. Ever so slightly. Just that much. Okay? I'm going to connect my 2 points here. So I'm going to point something out here that you'll recognize from the overlapping pendulum. Remember when we did the surfer guy? Okay? If we choose our crisscross point on these drawings, my surfer is going to be over here. Crisscross hasn't appeared yet, so he's on the very end by the shoulder. My crisscross now takes place over here, so my surfer begins to move at the crisscross point. On these 2 drawings here, see the crisscross point is roughly in the middle, where it's penduluming right there, or teeter-totter. So my surfer guy is now sliding out. And on these 2 here, it's crisscrossing over here. Okay, so there's where my little surfer guy goes. He slides along. Okay, that's my overlapping point. Okay. Going down, going up. So it's that wave action that's taking place. Although it's not a wave, it's just the movement of the energy. So now, here's where we're going really fast with the shoulder. Here's where I'm going to start to pull my elbow. I have to pull it over this way because I have to maintain my length. I don't want it to go down yet. I'm going to pull it across this way. So it's going up and over this way, then it's going to loop over here, across like this. So my path of action on my elbow is going to come out here. So if I know that that's where my path of action is, I'm going to line up my shoulder, line up the edge of my path of action to the angle that my arm is going to go in, and then I can draw my elbow on here at the appropriate distance. See how it rolls over there? Just get my fingers in here so you can see the drawings fall in order. Okay, so it's pulling it over now, and now it's going to start to swing down. Because here, from this position here to this position here, this is where my shoulder now goes back up. This is going to be the big swing right in here. This is where my shoulder and my arm are really going to move quite quickly here from here to here down. Okay, so I'm pendulum swinging my arm around. Double check my distance here. You can see I've made the arm a little bit long. Now the shoulder is coming up. And here's where I'm going to continue this path of action through here, down through like this. I'm going to swing it around. It's being pulled up, so my next position, the distance between these 2 here and here is that much. So I probably want to maintain that distance there, approximately the same. So I'm going to put my bicep part of my arm there, double check my length. Elbow point in there. So this is my really big swing here. It's going to go very, very fast. It's okay, got it. Yeah. Fast through there. Now the shoulder starts to come up. So here's where I'm going to start to slow my arm down. So my path of action is going to come across like this. This is going to go up and over and then back down this way. So I've got to be prepared to reverse the curve on this. So I want to slow this action down now. Double check my length. Here's my high point. I'm following my path of action through here. And again, I want to slow down, so I'm going from here to here, so I want to make sure that this next one is slightly smaller. Start to curl back and down. So this part of the shoulder is now coming down. So I want to go from this point to this point and ease into it. So I'm going to slow this part down a little bit more. So once again, I've got a crisscross that's taking place right here. So that's where my surfer guy would be, in the arm, the transfer of the energy. Ease into my high point here. So remember what I did on the other side. I just moved it up ever so slightly above. I'm just gonna Now I'm going down, and here's where I'm going to pull the loop in this way. As you can see, the path of action is coming this way, so I'm going to loop this across like this. So I'm going to put my shoulder somewhere roughly around there. Try to shift. Now I have to start to swing hard here because there's that hard pull there. So the path of action is going this way, so I want to loop and start to pull down in this direction here. Number 16 drawing. Essentially what I have to do here between these ones is I have to in between 15 and 1. So just pull my number 1 drawing off here. 15 to 1. I got to find the exact halfway position between these 2 points here. So there's my one elbow, my other elbow, there to there. I find my halfway point between those two. Just go like this, double check my length. And then now it gives me my bicep action. So let's flip this and see what it looks like. So this will look kind of cool now. Oops, sorry, I think my number 16 is in the wrong spot. Isn't that cool? So it's the shoulder that's doing the swing. It's like the pendulum swing. It's just now we've shifted the fulcrum point from the center point of the clavicle here. Remember that was the fulcrum point for the pendulum swing. We've now shifted it out here, so it's like your arm or your fingers are swinging back and forth like this to cause the pendulum part to swing. just on that different path of action. So that's kind of neat the way that worked out. All right, so now I have to go in and put in my forearm.